Happy Saturday. I want to thank everyone for coming out for Lily Mae Francis Foundation's first mental health wellness meeting of 2025. So, hope everyone had a great new year. And I'm excited about today's presentation, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think it's a good time at the start of the year to talk about, to identify our needs as humans and individuals. Um, Prioritize those needs, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs helps us to do that. Want to go ahead and get started. All right, Lynn. Thank you. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory of psychology that explains the five levels of need which motivate human nature. And when I say human nature, I'm speaking of behavior. So basically, understanding that these needs, um, when these needs are met, people are best able to engage in daily functioning, and that impacts how they interact and the choices and decisions they make. All right. So this is what that triangle looks like. You may have seen this if you remember this from Psychology 101 when we were in high school or first couple of years of college. This is that triangle. And it comes, they have it available in an unlimited amount or version, I should say, of this triangle, but this is the basic one. It's going to have these five particular levels of physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self actualization. And we start at the bottom with our physiological needs, our basic needs. Okay. So, our basic needs, the most fundamental needs for human survival. And Lynn, you can just click this whole page for me, if that's possible. So that's going to look like air, food, water, sleep, sex, shelter, warmth, clothing, our health. Those are the things that we need to survive and endure and move into the next generation. These needs are constant and universal. And I'm sorry, Lynn, could you go back for me real quick? Thank you. They're universal across all cultures. So regardless of where you are, where you live, what country you live in, what race you are a part of, these are going to be basic human needs. No one wants to be hungry, thirsty, exhausted, freezing, sick, or in pain. So if those things are, if those particular needs are met, it allows us to shift our focus to the next level of need, which is safety. So, like I said, once our physiological needs are met, safety and security of those needs become the primary focus. So we're looking for physical safety and a sense of stability. So the resources that we have, that we need or require for our foundational needs, we need to make sure that we're going to be able to obtain those things, as we need them without any type of break or pause in our food, water, clothing, and shelter. So this is going to include personal safety, so like locks on our doors, living in a low crime environment, financial security. So we want to make sure that we're employed so that we're able to um, have the resources to get the food, the water, and the shelter, or maintain the food, water, and shelter. We want to have savings as part of our backup plan to make sure that those needs are consistently met, and the skills to make sure that we are able to get the job to maintain the resources. So healthcare, law and order, protection from violence and theft, and then emotional safety, where we're able to trust the people that are around us within relationships and within our environments. So once we've secured our things on the bottom level, now we're going to look to how can I maintain these things and remain safe. Consistency and structure are important to help us feel secure. The ideal situation is one where we feel confident that we can avoid hunger and homelessness and any other dangers for the immediate future. So if that is in place, then we have met that safety need. Okay. So moving up to the next need on the triangle, the loving and belonging need. So basically, if we were to look at it like, okay, so I have my food, I have my house, I have my job, so I know I can maintain food and my house. Now I'm in a position where I can branch out to within relationships. So like it says, once we feel safe, our social needs come into play. This level is going to underscore our basic desire, human desire for connection, relationship, and a sense of community. So this looks like love and family, um, maintaining strong connections with our siblings and our parents, and extending extended family friendship. So spending time with close friends who provide support and companionship, intimacy. So those are going to be the closer, more intimate relationships with a partner, um, which supports emotional and physical closeness. And then community, joining churches, joining um, Greek organizations, joining clubs or social groups, to provide a sense of connection and belonging and shared experience. So, as human beings, we thrive when we feel loved and feel like we belong and are part of a group. Not having that connection or having that sense of belonging can lead to loneliness and depression. So social isolation um, is going to be detrimental to our mental health. And that's why people crave belonging to other people. I mean, belonging with or being connected to other people. That doesn't mean that, we know there's a difference between people that are introverts and extroverts, but even introverts still, desire that connection. They just have limitations to the amount of time that they're able to endure it in one setting. Right. But if you talk to someone that is an introvert, you'll understand that they do value the friendships and the connections that they do have, because it's part of human nature. Okay. So our next level is esteem. So I'm going to often go back and then come back up. So we have our basic needs met. We have those basic needs secure and we feel safe. Now we're reaching out to and forming connections and relationships. So we start feeling good about ourselves. We feel good about our accomplishments. We feel good about our relationships. We feel confident in our accomplishments and our abilities. And that's where we start seeing our esteem needs being met. So as we secure all those other needs, our desire for status and self-esteem come into play. We don't only, I think this is important, we not only want to feel a part of the group, we want to be admired and a respected part. We want to feel valuable. We want to feel useful. We want to feel accomplished within our role in our community and our family, within our circles and things like that. So esteem is divided into two categories. So we have internal esteem, which speaks to confidence and your sense of independence, your sense of achievement and mastery and personal growth. And then we have external esteem, which is esteem from others. So, accolades that we've received within our career, recognition of our
Hey, Sarah.
accomplishments. Sure. Hello? I'm sorry. Prestige, recognition, and admiration from others. If this need of esteem is not met, we could see feelings of inferiority and helplessness, which could impact our self worth. I do want to take a moment here to draw the difference between self esteem and confidence. A lot of people feel that they are the same word. They are closely or mean the same thing. They are related, but there's a little difference. Typically, when we're talking about self esteem, we're talking about the esteem of ourselves. We're talking about how I feel about myself, what I feel is my worth and my value. When we're talking about confidence, typically we're talking more about how I feel about my abilities and my skills and my talents and my gifts. So a person can be confident about their abilities, but not feel good about themselves or feel their worth or their value, and vice versa. A person can feel good about themselves, and so they have high self-esteem, but not necessarily confident in their abilities. So I thought that was an important distinction. But this particular level is going to cover both of those things: how they feel about themselves and how they feel about their abilities, and how other people feel about them and their abilities. Okay. Okay. So self-actualization is actually the tip of the triangle. That's where we're moving up. We're moving toward, once we start, like I said, we start at the bottom with our fundamental needs, and we're moving up the triangle with the goal being self-actualization. Now that all the lower needs have been met, you're ready and equipped to work toward being the best version of yourself. In this space, when this need is being met, people are able to choose and are best aligned with their values and their higher purpose. So when you hear people talking about, what am I here for? What was I put here to do? What is my purpose? How can I serve mankind? Those kind of questions are realized within this self actualization phase. I think it's important to understand that it's not a destination. It's a journey, because we should always be moving toward our best self. And our best self is going to look different depending on where we are in life. So it's going to always shift. Our best self, or operating in our best self, is going to look different at 20 than it does at 40, and different at 50 than it does at 80. Right. But the important thing is to understand that once you have those other needs met, it allows you the freedom to focus on the things that align with your what you believe to be your value and higher purpose, right? So it's going to look different for each person. It includes personal passion projects, career alignment, continuous learning, and helping others, just to name a few things. But in this space, we've also learned, you know, throughout life, that, we've learned, this is where we start. I'm sorry, this is where we start to see wisdom in decisions. This is where we start to see open minds. This is where we start to see improved problem solving. If we are occupied with the things underneath, um, on the triangle, or lower down levels, if we're occupied with those needs being met, then it's difficult to operate in our true, authentic, creative self, because we're occupied with taking care of needs that are more immediate, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Important things to consider: that we don't necessarily advance up the triangle, step by step. There are times that we can kind of go up and down and sideways and across, depending on what's happening in our life. And so sometimes I may need to focus on, let's say, my relationship with my family. I really don't have a lot of time at that moment, um, to worry about, um, growing, or personal growth, because right now I need to worry about what my family is going through. So that could be a good example. The example on there is an artist might create impactful work while facing financial security. So that's the phrase we heard of the starving artist. So they don't have their basic needs met, but they're driven by their passion, and are hoping that if they focus on their passion and their work, and can secure the finances, then the money will come. So it doesn't necessarily have to flow in order in our lives. Also, there are cultural influences. Different cultures may prioritize certain needs differently. Collective social societies may emphasize belonging. That would be like a socialist, or socialism framework. So that particular society emphasizes belonging in community over individual. So it's about more about how we're doing as a group or as a nation or as a tribe than how you feel about yourself. So culturally, that could look different, or those needs could be prioritized differently. Okay. So how can this triangle help us? First one is the personal growth, like I spoke of. We since because we should always be moving toward being a better us. This can help us to identify unmet needs and focus on achieving balance in our life. So, for example, a workaholic might realize they need to step back and focus on their health, which would be their basic fundamental needs, or spending time with their loved ones, which would be on the love and belonging need for long-term fulfillment. It also helps us decide what we should put our focus on. So if we look around and we recognize that certain needs aren't being met, we may want to prioritize those needs because we understand that having all of those needs in place or having a balance of these needs is important to support us being able to move to the very top of self actualization. So if someone is struggling I'm sorry, to meet ends, their immediate goal might be getting a stable job before they before they think about getting married. Okay. Another way that this hierarchy can help us is motivation. When we recognize that our goals line up with our particular needs, it feels like something that we're capable of doing. Like, oh, okay, first I have to do this, then I have to do that. And once I do that, I know I'll be able to move forward. That can be a motivating factor for some people. Um, Meeting physiological and safety needs can provide the energy and stability that is needed to pursue higher goals. The stability is going to be a big point of why it's important to kind of look back and see what needs are met or unmet and be able to maintain those needs so that you can move forward. The Maslow's hierarchy can also help us to understand others. I said in the beginning, it speaks to human motivation and behavior. People make certain choices and decisions based on where they are and what needs are met or unmet. So people tend to focus on satisfying their unmet needs first, whether they're aware of it or not, and then their behavior is going to reflect that priority. So, for example, if someone is worried about food or money, they might present as stressed or distracted because in that moment they're hungry or they're worried about where they're going to sleep tonight, and that also may lead to poor choices and decisions. They may decide that they're going to go rob a bank, or they may decide that they're going to rob someone or mug someone. So understanding why people are motivated to do certain things doesn't have to be extreme as turning to a life of crime, but just in general, with interactions with people, it's good to understand what they may be struggling with in regards to this triangle to better explain their choices and decisions. I think a good one is the one at the bottom where it says a person seeking attention or validation might be addressing certain unmet esteem needs. Someone that struggles with abandonment or um, or um, or attachments might have unmet needs of family and love and belonging. Okay, well, that was it.
Therapist Nikki, I have three questions that came in on the from callers.
Okay.
The first one is, are there real world scenarios or examples where individuals might prioritize higher level needs like self-actualization
Mhm.
over basic needs such as safety or physiological needs?
Absolutely. And I kind of talked about that if when we were talking about the starving artist. right? So if someone is so caught up passionately in their art, they may forego any of those other needs. They may, not be connected with anyone, so not be able to maintain a relationship because all they're doing is focusing on their art. They may forget to eat. I'm thinking about a photographer or someone who might work in the war zone is what's popping in my head. So, their goal is to get the perfect picture, to have photo of the year, right? So they're willing to go, even though they're not military trained and equipped, they're willing to go into high risk situations because to them, it's all about their accomplishment or their self actualization is getting the perfect picture in addition to being able to, provide them ultimately a paycheck that's going to help them reach those other needs. So most definitely, that's part of the reason why it's important to understand this, so you can kind of monitor. Okay, wait, while I'm focusing on this, is there anything underneath that's supporting me? That's going to make me more equipped or better equipped to stand in my self actualization, to present in my best self. And if there is, I need to pay some attention to that level.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Second question. What are some criticisms or limitations of Maslow's theory, particularly when applied to diverse cultural contexts or individuals with varying life experience?
Uh-uh. Good question, though. Definitely good question. And I kind of already touched on that as far as culturally. It definitely is going to also spread across to economically and societally. There are going to be differences because there are times when different communities don't have access or don't have equal or fair access to some of these needs, particularly the physiological and the safety needs, right? So if there are no, if you don't live in a safe environment, if you live in a high crime environment, it's going to be very difficult for you to focus on other things upwards. Like it's very difficult to form relationships or have quality time or bonding time with your family because everyone's operating in survival mode. It could be, where it's difficult or painful to get involved in relationships because life expectancy is low, or danger is so high that you're losing people to crime. That's going to then impact confidence, self-esteem, ability, worth. So if you're in places where there's poverty, where there's low access to good, safe, affordable housing, if we look at Flint, clean water, right? So that's, geographically, we know that that's an area in America where that fundamental or physiological need for water is unmet and has been unmet for clean, safe water has been unmet for years. And so as a result, all the other um, levels are impacted. Imagine the self-esteem or the confidence level or the sense of value and worth that a person has in a community that has been allowed to have tainted water for years. They're going to feel like we're not important enough for the country to address the fact that our water is tainted. So that's going to impact everything along those different levels.
Thank you for that. That was a perfect example too of somebody's lived experience that might
Mm-hmm.
they might have a different thought. Okay, last question that I had was, how can Maslow's hierarchy of needs be applied in modern workplaces or educational settings to improve motivation and performance?
Oh, another good question. I think that would be connected or could be connected to understanding how this model operates, or what it explains, and then being able to apply that to a behavior within the workplace. So as a manager, understanding, if Bob, just lost his wife, there's going to be, there's going to be a break in his love and belonging need, And so you may see that reflected in his workplace. I mean, in his work performance, right? So understanding, I think it could be used to help understand what your individual employees may need, what your team may need based on what they might be lacking, and then being able to address that directly.
That's awesome. Thank you for making sure that we can understand basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs and apply it to real life scenarios and workplaces and educational settings. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
As always, it was a fantastic review,
I'm sorry, Miss
especially at the
Diamond. It's
beginning.
kind of muffled.
Uh-oh, one moment. What about now?
It's better.
Okay. As always, it was a fantastic review, especially like you said at the beginning of the year, just to put things into perspective about what I'm focusing on and where I am. So thank you once again.
You're very welcome. I think the biggest part for me, as far as Maslow's and its usefulness, is going to be helping to identify what areas I may need to focus on or change as I work toward operating in my full potential. So if I'm going to operate in my full potential, if I'm going to show up as my best self, I need to make sure that the needs below that are supporting me in being my best self are met. And then that gives me the freedom, to reach my goals and love myself and love others around me.
Yeah, this has been awesome, Therapist Nikki. You will be sharing the PowerPoint presentation with us as well.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I would encourage people to look at it, throughout the year to kind of look and see what they may be missing, and what they can focus on.
Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. We will see you next month.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.